Welcome back, everybody. Like always, the financial news never sleeps, and especially when it comes to tech stocks. So a few of us jumped on a live stream and talked about a bunch of topics, including what's going on with Taiwan Semiconductor, what about Nvidia and upcoming tariffs, Meta's streak, Apple's robotics, cybersecurity stocks, and why I don't invest in Intuit. Lots of fun stuff in this one, so let's go ahead and get started. All right, so let's talk about TSM. Now, I think a lot of this has to do with the JD Vance thing. And I actually have an Apple News article here that I can share with you guys. JD Vance was talking about AI in America. And the whole thing was about, AI being a huge shift, trend, whatever you want to call it. And the administration wanting it to be a huge point of emphasis to where we keep kind of America's lead in AI. And he talked specifically about the design and manufacturing, wanting it to be in America. Now, the big challenge with that is, as you guys know, is most of the major chips, if not all of them, are made in Taiwan by Taiwan Semi. What they've tried to do is create, new manufacturing plants in the US. And so that is ongoing and happening. The problem is that the most innovative chips are still made in Taiwan. And that was kind of the plan, which I'm assuming the government over there wants to keep it that way because that helps keep them kind of at the forefront. And then there's the whole, America, China, Taiwan thing, right? Which kind of even complicates it more. So I think what people are assuming here is that you've seen stocks like Intel, and actually let's look at Intel. Intel's been on a tear ever since that announcement was made. It's still down over 44% for the year though, just FYI. But over the past 5 days, Intel's up 23% because of this, right? So it's insane. Everyone's like, okay, these chips are going to be made in the US. And so I think that's why you're seeing the issues with TSM. Now, here's the challenge, right? Just because we want to make the chips in the US doesn't mean that we can or that they have the ability to do that. And I think that's going to be a challenge that's ongoing. So actually, there was an article today about this whole thing where they're basically saying that there's a rumor that there was a discussion involving Intel and TSM, and that basically they would provide engineers to Intel's manufacturing fab to help their kind of overall knowledge of how to do this, right? They added that the new manufacturing fab could be spun off into a new entity that's jointly owned by Taiwan Semi and Intel, but run by Taiwan Semiconductor, right? So what's interesting about that is it would solve the problem of, Intel just can't make these chips right now, right? That's just the truth of it. So if they partner with Taiwan Semi to get that information, and then it's jointly owned by Taiwan Semi and it's run by Taiwan Semi, then wouldn't that be good for Taiwan Semi long term, right? I would think yes. But if you go by what the market is doing right now, it looks like it's assuming that either it'll impact the amount of chips that are made by Taiwan Semi, or they'll be hit with things like tariffs to where it hurts their, business. A comment here that it's your top buy. I agree. I think Taiwan Semi is a buy, assuming that you can get over the geopolitical risk, because it absolutely is there. But I've said it a million times, all roads for the best chips right now are going through them. And just because we want to make them in the US doesn't mean that we can until they're ready to make them in the US, in my opinion. Is JD aware of the Arizona TSM plan? I don't know what JD's aware of or not. I will say the things, whoever, wrote what he said, it seemed relatively accurate from a technical perspective at the level that he was talking. So I appreciated that. The issue, I think, with the Arizona plants is that as of right now, the plan isn't for them to make all the most innovative NVIDIA chips, right? So I think they were starting with Apple and some other things. So I think that is what will have to change, is that plan of what they're actually going to make there would have to be updated to do the more innovative stuff. How does Trump's tariffs on chips impact Nvidia? Just to prepare myself mentally. Yeah, it's any stock, right? We always have to prepare ourselves mentally. So Obviously, the quick answer is I don't know. What I believe will happen, though, is this. If we're saying in America that AI is a huge area that we want to win at and maintain our lead, then in my opinion, NVIDIA absolutely has to be a part of that, if not having a leading part of whatever that is, because quite frankly, they are the leader when it comes to the hardware to be able to do any of this stuff. I don't think anybody disputes that. And so I don't know is the answer, but I think if we really want to keep our lead, then NVIDIA has to be involved. So I'm just kind of taking a wait and see approach on what exactly is going to happen with the tariffs and with, how are we going to manufacture the chips here if Taiwan Semi can't. I would be shocked if ultimately the answer in America does not include both NVIDIA and TSM doing that stuff here. I mean, obviously NVIDIA is an American company, but I don't see any other way for that to happen in the near future. So if the answer is, hey, we're going to build it here in 2-3 years, and then, Intel is going to be able to do it. I mean, again, the only way they're going to be able to do it is with TSM's help, in my opinion. So I'm doing wait and see. I'm not going to overreact just because I understand, how big of a lead NVIDIA has. So I think they have to be involved. Congrats on Meta being up for 19 days in a row. You know what's interesting about Meta? I was going to post something about this, but then I figure when I post stuff like this, when I'm like, hey, remember when I said this, it actually worked out. I feel like I'm bragging and I don't really want it to be like that. But Meta, so I don't know if you guys remember, but on September 12th, I did a video that was like, hey, this is the best bargain in big tech. And I said it was Meta and not Amazon or Google. And I got a bunch of comments on that video that were like, oh, you're so stupid. It definitely is not Meta because Meta's at all-time highs. But I just wanted to show you guys what Meta has done since then. So if we go back to that time from September 12th, sorry, I'm trying to get this on the stream. They were pretty much neck and neck there for a while, but then over the past, week to 10 days, Meta's just kept going up and everything else is going down. So I think this was a good lesson that just because something's at all-time highs, it doesn't mean that it's not the best bargain, right? Because Meta was at an all-time high on September 12th. It was like in the 500s somehow. And so a lot of people were saying there's no way it can be the best bargain. It's at all-time highs. Well, at least up until now, it has been, because just because it's at all-time highs or just because the stock's at a 52-week low, it doesn't really mean anything in terms of where they're going next. So that's just a nice reminder. So there was a couple articles about Apple getting into robotics. And I was wondering if y'all saw this. I'm actually going to play this video.
Researchers from Apple's machine learning team brought the Pixar lamp to life. Elegant, like many other robots, performs functional movements such as completing tasks, overcoming spatial constraints, and demonstrating time efficiency. But it also has expressive qualities characteristic to humans, such as paying attention, showing intent, and attitude. In their study, which focuses on making non-anthropomorphic robots both utilitarian and engaging, the researchers working on Elegant tested how humans engage with an expression-driven versus a function-driven robot across 6 different tasks. When asked about the weather outside, the expressive robot turns towards the window, much like a person would, before it gives a report. It also prepares to stretch its body when asked to reach the other corner of the desk. It dances to music in the kitchen and seems to express disappointment when told it's not invited to a hike. According to the researchers, those expression-driven movements enhance the way users engage with and perceive the robot, especially when it comes to social-oriented tasks. And though it's not yet known when and if the prototype lamp will be available to buy, Apple seems to be shifting its focus towards home robotics.
How many of you want a Apple's home robotics lamp like that? I thought it was super cool, actually. And what I think about this is, obviously, that's just like a lamp and it dances with, whatever. It's more of a novelty than anything. But what I thought was interesting is Apple is the type of brand that I think could totally make this switch to be like, hey, we're going to put a robot in your home, right? Even if it's not like a humanoid robot, right? Even though they are working on that, like they're also working on a humanoid like robot, which will be like a rival to, I guess, like Optimus for Tesla, right? So I don't know if you guys saw that, but I felt like Apple's the type of brand where they could kind of make it okay to be like, I'm going to let this robot in my house and do something. The challenge will be, can they make it to where it actually works as well as you would expect an Apple product to work? I don't know. What do I think about cybersecurity stocks? I feel like they benefit from AI, other secular growth trends. Yes, I love them. I totally agree with you. They're absolutely in a huge trend. Obviously, cloud is a trend. So anything related to cloud, like cloud security, is going to be there. Yes, I did invest in Cloudflare. That was one of the big reasons why I did. For them, I also believed in their edge computing future, and I still do. And I think that's going to be huge as AI inference continues to grow. So huge fan of pretty much anything cloud security. Like I will be honest, all these stocks on your list here were all stocks on my watch list that I looked at before I invested in Cloudflare. So, and honestly, I could have picked one or two more of those when I bought Cloudflare, but I just like Cloudflare the best. So Nate asked, what do I think of INTU? And I just want to confirm INTU is Intuit. And it is. And so I will talk about Intuit because someone's asked me about it in the past. Intuit is a company that when you look, and actually we can take a look at Intuit is a company where if you look at their fundamentals, right, it's decent growth, like revenue growth is strong. Earnings per share growth is good. Operational cash flow growth is, mid-teens. That's solid. When you look at their profitability, excellent. Gross profit margin, net income margin, good. Leverage free cash flow margin, good. All that's fine, right? If you look at the valuation, it's not terrible. Now, granted, I've been looking at stocks like Cloudflare and Snowflake, so this doesn't look crazy to me anymore. But, price to cash flow, projected price to cash flow, 27. That's not crazy, right? It's whatever. But here is my challenge with Intuit. If I look at all the fundamentals, Intuit looks fine. I just hate them. That's the problem. I hate them. I use TurboTax every year, and I hate it. When I use TurboTax, now I've used it for over a decade now, so it's one of those things where if I stop using it, it would just be extremely painful to get out of, which is obviously a great thing for the company, and that's why people like their business. But using TurboTax now, it's like so spammy and like scammy and trying to do stuff, and they do things like they make it seem like on the screen that you need to give them your data in order, or like their, data consent in order to be able to file your taxes, which is not true. And so it's those type of scammy type things that I just don't like. So what do I think of Intuit? I think it's a solid company. If you look at fundamentals, I just hate them. And that's why I won't invest in them. So hopefully that makes sense. So yeah, there's always a lot going on in tech, and it was fun to be able to answer direct questions about it. And it's something that we'll definitely continue doing. Now, if you want to know why TSMC is probably the most important AI company in the world, you can watch this video right here. Hope you guys have a great day out there. Financial independence is true freedom. So keep building and stacking wins, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.